Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And today, well, this one's going to be a little controversial. Not maybe the recording, but the work. The work is Mahler, Symphony number 10, in the Derek Cooke performing version, which is far and away, vastly the best. Really the only acceptable one, quite frankly, because Cooke was such a knowledgeable Mahlerian and self-effacing human being that he was able to modestly prepare the sketches in a way that makes them performable rather than glom on all kinds of other garbage that he thought, well, maybe Mahler might have done or use his own style. I mean, there are a zillion other versions, and some of them have been recorded, Carpenter and Joe Wheeler, and they're all amazingly defective. One of the things that kind of fascinates me, it really does, is just how little people understand of Mahler's particular style. I mean, I couldn't imitate it. I'm not saying I'd be better at it, but I know what's wrong. It's like, the old, who was it? Potter Stewart's definition of pornography. I may not be able to define it, but I know it when I see it. That's exactly the kind of thing we get here. We all know what Mahler sounds like. We who like Mahler, we feel it, we have a sense of it, and we know when it isn't right. You can always tell when it's just not in the style. And so many of these people who've taken on the completion write things that are totally not in the style. I mean, we've had this problem. I tell you, it's the same thing. It's similar at ClassicsToday.com. We're always looking for good writers. Musically knowledgeable people who can do a good review. And my advice to these people was always take a look at our reviews and just imitate them. That's our style. We have a house style, and it's evidenced in the work that we've done, thousands of them. And then I get something it seems like it came from Mars, and I write back to these people and I say, "Did you look? Is this your version of what we're doing? Maybe what we do isn't." Well, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same phenomenon. These people who try to complete Mahler's 10th, they wind up not doing Mahler at all. But Cooke did. He did as much as possible. He comes the closest. He really does. By, interestingly, adding as little as possible. Because there's a lot of Mahler that's already there. It's already in it. Now, I have qualms with the completion. I really do. I feel that just having the Adagio and the Purgatorio, which are really complete enough to be performed almost as they stand with just some cleaning up, and in the Purgatorio there's a da capo, so you have to go back and repeat what was already there, but it was orchestrated more or less completely, and the movements are in good shape. And so I don't have any problem with those. I do have an issue with the complete symphony because I feel that the finale has, and to a certain extent the scherzos, but more than anything else, that big central climax of the finale with the return of the nasty chord from the first movement, it hasn't been fully fleshed out by anybody who's done it. Even Cooke. I mean, I get what he does. He sort of throws up his hands and just says, okay, big crash on the tam-tam and boopity-boop, and out it comes. Okay, I get it. It kind of works. But it's not quite there. I've given it a lot of thought, and I've talked about it with friends like, Barry, hi, if you're watching this. We talked about what would we do? What would we do to make that convincing, because the music is moving very, very quickly, and all of a sudden it sort of hits a brick wall, and then this thing goes back, and it's just, I don't know. I don't think it's quite there. I also think that movement's a bit too long. I think Mahler would have cut the conclusion. I really do. Not the conclusion, but the passage after the nasty chord. It seems to lose its way until the big recap of the giant, the gorgeous tune comes in. So there are things. There are things that I think need to be done, but it doesn't matter, because what we're talking about is people who have played Cooke's completion and have done it really well. And there are some really fine performances. There's Ormandy, there's Chailly, there's Gielan, but there is one I think that really I think is a powerful vindication of what Cooke did, and that is this one, Kurt Sanderling. Because Sanderling released, it's interesting, his Mahler, little Mahler boxlet here on Berlin Classics. It's all late Mahler. Das Lied von der Erde, the 9th and the 10th. And they're all wonderful performances. They really are. They're superb. And Sanderling was an excellent person to do it. First of all, he doesn't even take Cooke all that literally. He does some of his own tinkering. I mean, he adds a big tam-tam swat at the beginning of the, terror chord. That's not the dissonant one, the one that comes before. The F sharp minor chord, whatever key it's in. He adds some percussion. He diddles the triangle parts. He adds some orchestration here and there. He's not literal, but he's faithful. And that's the point. He gets late Mahler. He understands the style. So what he does makes sense, and it's sensitive. And the other thing about this performance that I think is so wonderful is its complete lack of sappy sentimentality. He's a lot like Klemperer as a conductor, Sanderling. He was, a sort of unsentimental, direct, German Kapellmeister, straightforward, kind of galumphy sometimes, in music that required more, rubato and emotion and schmaltz. He wasn't really the guy. He really wasn't. But in these late Mahler works, their spareness, their expressionistic qualities, he's just completely direct, and he goes right to the heart of the matter. And he does with the 10th, and he plays it as though it is a legitimate work of Mahler. That's the point. You hear it, and as you hear it, you think, gee, Mahler could have done that. Yeah, it makes sense. And I think the swiftness of tempo, the refusal to languish, over the adagios and just stretch them out to interminable lengths, it really pays dividends. It keeps the music moving. It has a freshness and a sense that the 10th was not the end, that Mahler was. Because remember, Mahler was in the prime of his life when he died. He was only 50. And musically speaking, he was totally at the top of his game. And so that makes the completions even more difficult and awkward. In order to perform it, you've got to give it that sense of new, not the tired, decadent, dying. Know what I mean? You sort of get it. So that's why I think this Berlin Classics recording with the Berlin Symphony Orchestra under Kurt Sanderling is one of the greatest recordings ever. It's just terrific. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.